Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
Hello, hello. You're joined here with Sean Flores, Flower Hour. I am joined today by Afoluke, another All African Colors contestant. I'm looking forward to having this great conversation with you today, Afoluke. How are you, most importantly?
I'm very well, thank you, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. I've had some great conversations. So I'm looking forward to having another fantastic one. All of you contestants are different individuals, to say the least, and so it's just I'm excited. Most importantly, I'm quite ecstatic. So I'd love for you to start off this conversation by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Afoluke Adelapo. I'm 27 years old, and I'm currently working as an analyst with the Bank of America. In my spare time, I enjoy reading lots of books, so hence the bookcase. And I also like to play the piano. And so currently, I'm trying to learn a few classical pieces and a few modern pieces. I look forward to sharing my journey with you through this podcast. So I'm very excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the first thing that when I came on the screen was I see all the books. And when I see a lot of books, I know that there's a lot that we could talk about, because if you saw my library is pretty big as well. We could trade some books, a little book club.
I like books.
No, absolutely. So the first thing I've got to ask you is, why did you, I suppose, join the competition? What inspired you to apply?
Well, I decided to write a list of things that I'd like to do in my life at the end of 2019, sort of for the new year, like an annual review that I started last year. And Become a Beauty Queen was on that list. So I looked at the different organizations that were out there, and the only one that really stood out to me and that I knew that I could resonate with was the Miss World organization. So I applied for Miss England. I put my face on the application form. I think I put it like a few times just in case they didn't see it. And eventually they got back to me with the Miss All African Colors competition. So that's how I got into it.
And what was that moment like when you were accepted and now you've made it to another heat?
I was confused because I didn't really know how the whole beauty pageant process worked. This is my first time, so I just was able to apply, and I was quite grateful for this opportunity because it's something new and it's not a lot of people that do this type of thing. So it was quite exciting.
No, and I could imagine with all that excitement, how have you been able to contain it? Because you're in another heat right now. So when do you find out when you make it through, and what would it be like? What would your feelings be like when you make it through, you think?
When we made it to the final,
Yeah.
I was quite pleased because we had to send in videos of ourselves. It was a series of 4 videos. So one was walking, another was introducing ourselves, and another was a talent. So I
Yeah.
decided to play the piano. And the other thing was to send a picture of myself. So I thought I would get rejected, to be honest, but I was surprised when Miss Yvette, who's our director, called me up and said, "Do you still want to do this?" And I was like, "Wow, yeah." I was kind of scared, but I'm glad that I decided to go through with it.
No, I could imagine. It must be such a exhilarating experience that you're going through. So I wanted to speak a little bit about you and all the stuff that you're doing, because I know the very ethos and the very idea is that models or people who are part of beauty pageants or contests, whatever they may be, they're more than just their looks. You said that you work as well on top of it. So you've studied, I presume, as well. And you said you recently just graduated, if I'm correct.
Well, yeah, I graduated last year with a master's degree in financial services management with the University of South Wales, which
Okay.
was thank you, thank you. It was interesting. It was different. I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that, and then I was able to get a position with the Bank of America, which I'm quite excited about. It's a great place so far. I've just started, but it's really good.
So, and you're surviving amongst all the COVID madness that's happening right now in the world. Everything's in lockdown.
Yeah, it's been different starting from home rather than going to an actual office, but it's it's been quite good. A smooth transition, as smooth as you could make it
Mm.
during this time. And also, working from home has allowed me to get involved with certain activities that I wasn't able to get involved with before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been good. Can't
And
complain.
and how do you? So, I want to get a little bit deeper. I want to ask you, how do you feel with the beauty standards in society at the moment? Because I think we spoke about the diversity of this heat. That's huge. So when you think of diversity, what comes to mind?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. When I think about diversity, I think about displaying a little bit of each part of the world. So this world is filled with so many types of people, so many different face shapes, body shapes, and I think to have something that's diverse, we need to try and represent each and every one of these uh, different types of beauty so that we can show the next generation that beauty isn't just one way, it's in many different ways, and we're all beautiful.
Absolutely. And when you were growing up, did you ever envision that someone who looks like yourself could perhaps be on, a pageant or a competition? Because whenever I think about Nigeria, I was saying this to another contestant, that what comes to mind was, I can't remember, Miss Nigeria, when she was more happy at somebody else winning compared to herself. That's what all I know about beauty pageants, or that's all I know about contests. So what's it like being able to represent, I suppose, in some aspects, some of the young girls that perhaps could never envision themselves being beauty queens?
It's a dream come true. Uh, I never really thought about going into a beauty competition myself when I was younger, just because many of the beauty contests that I saw would mostly choose white girls and things like that.
Yeah.
They weren't really, yeah, they weren't choosing black girls or anyone else really. But the one thing that sort of pushed me to join was seeing Miss USA 2016. She's called Deshona Barber, and she's a dark-skinned African American woman who won that title. So I thought, oh, that's really cool. That's different. Um, so I guess from then on, I thought, if I get the chance, perhaps I'll go for it. You never know what could happen. And I'm kind of grateful that I have had the opportunity to do this because I get to show my little cousins, um, and they're really excited. And I think it's something that's quite a good activity to get into it if you're a certain age. I think it's better to be a little bit older because you know yourself a little bit more, and
Mm.
you're not as swayed by the opinions of others as you would be if you were a teenager getting into this.
Oh, okay. So do you feel like, what were you, so then how would you describe yourself when you were younger? Because you've just mentioned that you think it's better if you're older to, I suppose, join these competitions. So what were you like when you were younger, and how does the young you compare to the older Afoluke?
I think when I was younger, I came across as more shy.
Mm.
Um, I was uh, referred to as quiet. I guess I still am, but I'm a lot more confident these days.
Yeah.
I'm hopefully better at public speaking because I used to be quite bad. That's why I decided to join a group called Toastmasters, which they help you improve in that area. And yeah, so I think I've grown from little me to big me now. So
So
yeah,
you were previously shy.
yes.
How shy were you on a scale of 1 to 10? Because I used to be super shy as well. People think I'm so confident now, but I was so shy that when people used to try and speak to me, I used to run away. I even when I was pinned in, I used to wish the ground would swallow me. Was it anything like that for yourself?
No, Not that shy.
Oh, so obviously I was worse.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure if I was actually shy or just shy compared to other people. I think I was more quiet
Okay.
compared to other people because in Nigeria they value loud people more than the quiet ones. So I think that got into my head a lot and
Oh.
affected my confidence. So
Mm.
now that you mention it, I don't think I was truly that shy, but I have definitely come out of my shell a lot more in the years that most recently. So
Because when I was younger, I grew up with so many Nigerians around me, and they were always loud. And it's so
yeah,
interesting that you said in Nigeria they value Nigerians who are more loud compared to
yeah.
as they were quiet. So could you tell me a little bit more about your background? Were you born in Nigeria, grew up in Nigeria, came to London? Just tell me a little bit more. I'd love to hear how that shaped the person that you are today.
Oh, well, I was born in the early 90s in Bradford, which is, again, the northeast of England. It's North Yorkshire. There's not a lot of Black people around. So
Mm.
for most of my growing up, I was the only, myself and my twin brother would be the only Black people in the entire school,
Oh
which
wow.
is a lot of pressure because um, when you're the only one, you feel you need to represent your whole entire ethnic group properly. Like you can't fail because it
Yes.
makes us all look bad, and you can't make us look bad. It's a disgrace upon your ancestors and the future generations. So um, it was it's a so we did feel that sort of pressure, and also we did have a little bit of stereotyping, but
Mm.
yeah, stereotyping, like because back then a lot of people hadn't seen many Black people in their area, so what they're seeing of Black people is what they're seeing in Hollywood, which isn't real life.
Yeah.
So they would attribute that to the way I was supposed to be, the way I was supposed to act, and I I don't think I ever molded to that because I'm completely different. Like every person's an individual. People are more than their ethnic group, even though ethnic identity is really important. We're more so yeah, I never really fell into it, and I did have a wonderful group of friends who didn't really care about ethnic group and things like that. Like not in a bad way. It was an interesting way. They wanted to know more about my background, and they were interested in the things that um, I had in my culture. So that really helped. Uh, it was interesting because um, I learned to see people as people and not as their ethnic group. I don't have to
Yeah.
be the same color as you to be really good friends. Um, but yeah, yeah, it was an interesting growing up. And then I think I learned to code switch as well. Um, so you behave one way with a certain group of people, then behave another way with the rest. But as I'm getting older, um, I don't need to do that anymore. My worlds are just merging into one, which is quite nice.
So could you explain code switching? I know what code switching is, but for those
Oh,
who probably watch it and probably don't know what it means, could you explain code switching and why it was so relevant for you at the time?
well, I'll try my best. So, code switching is where your language changes depending on the people that you're around, uh, and it's in order for you to relate better to them. So I think I guess with Nigerians, they have a language called Pidgin language, which is Pidgin English, which is a bunch of different uh, parts of their traditional language and English all mixed together, and it was created so that everybody would have a communal language to talk to each other with. So a lot of Nigerians abroad, they when they see their Nigerian friends, they speak Pidgin to them, But you can't do that with your white friends because they don't understand what you're saying. So
Yeah.
you'll sort of change your language to make yourself easier to understand between the two different groups. I was never really that great. I never spoke pidgin or anything. I was too shy for that. But I did a bit of code switching.
Okay. And then
Yeah,
as you got older, you said you realized you weren't doing it as much. You could merge everything
yeah,
into
because
one. What was that as a
yeah,
result of?
pardon.
What was that as a result of?
I I think it was just when my friends from school started coming home, and we started getting to know them a bit more, and yeah, so it sort of changed the way we related.
Okay. And do you find, but by being in the competition, you've been able to relate to other people even more so?
The competition has caused some interest, especially at work. Because I'm new there, they want to know about me and they want to know the interesting facts. So my interesting fact is sort of this, and they love it. They're really excited to see the progress, and every week they ask me, "Oh, how's it going?" So it's generated interest in my work and also in my family as well. I didn't think they would care that much, but they're actually quite excited. Like, yeah, I've been using my brother's phone to help me take pictures because my phone is appalling. It's not great. So they're my photographers. They also help me with my speeches and things like that. So I kind of like I've been connecting with the different communities that I'm part of a lot
Mm.
more since entering this competition, and it's been quite good. Yeah.
So at work, you've got this newfound fame. Although you're new, you've got like so much more attention than you would ordinarily get. And you spoke about the interesting facts. Tell us some interesting facts.
About me?
Of course, about you. Who else?
Okay. So I was born with 6 fingers. You can't really see them because they cut them off.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom and dad told them to cut them off because it's weird. I'm a twin.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest twin, and uh, when I was 7 years old, I cut my arm on a soap holder by accident, and I have a scar.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Oh, oh, that looks gruesome.
Yeah, yeah,
That is that is certainly some interesting facts.
yeah,
Oh wow, to be grown to 6 fingers, I've got five. Maybe I should have had one more. You never know what life would have been like.
yeah. But most things are made for people with 5 fingers.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I would love to ask you. You and I were speaking about purpose and your beauty with a purpose. Could you tell me a little bit more about it and go into it so everyone can understand?
So Beauty with a Purpose is Miss World's charity side, and each girl who competes in any heat of the competition has to support a charity because the idea is that uh, your real beauty is the kind things that you do for other people. It's not what you look like. So my beauty with a purpose is helping the organization called EquipAfrica, which is an organization founded by a bunch of medical students whilst they were in uni, and they equip, enlighten, and empower uh, healthcare professionals in Sub Saharan Africa and their patients through doing a different project. So the first project was supplying equipment to General Hospital in Lagos, and they've grown since then. Currently, they're restructuring, but they have a bunch of plans for the future, and trying to raise some funds and some awareness for their work because they're doing great work.
Oh wow, fantastic. And why did you particularly choose the Equip Africa compared to any other charities that you could have chosen?
I chose this one because I was inspired by the fact that young people were doing what they could with what they had and not waiting until they got more qualifications or until um, they were more experienced to try and help the a community that they saw needed the help,
Mm,
and a community that they connected with as well, because these medical students were Nigerian origin.
mm.
So it was nice to see them going back to their country of origin and trying to help them. So that's really why I was first interested in that, and to see the work that they've done uh, is so impressive. It's helped quite a lot of people, so I really want to help them.
And through the All African Colours contest, how would you be able to help them if you went on to win the competition?
I think that the most important thing is raising awareness. So once more people know about the work that they're doing, they can get a lot more help in terms of money, and also just moral support, which they can use to um, gather other healthcare professionals who want to join in. Because there's a lot of people who want to help and they're looking for organizations to help, but they don't know about it. So if I can raise some kind of awareness and some funds as well, that would be great. And that's something that I would like to continue throughout the future, because they are restructuring. So I'd like to be there to help them once they do restructure and once they figure out what path they're going to take for the future, especially in light of COVID. They have to do things differently, and it does take a while uh, to find to restructure yourself and to find path, the right path to take when doing this. So it's something that I want to continue.
And do you feel with when you look at people that have had less and they're not waiting on the opportunities to be presented to them, what do you think that says about, for example, the world in which we live where people are always waiting for the opportunity? Do you feel like as individuals, we should almost be a bit more of a go-getter, go out and get in, don't wait on the opportunity, don't wait for the right time. The time is always right as long as you make it right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. For me, I'm sort of the person that uh, can procrastinate. Like I've procrastinated so many times in my life and just uh, been a bit laid back and waiting for the right opportunities to arise. But I think I'm learning that life doesn't really work that way. You have to just keep going and keep preparing, and um, those opportunities will come, but you might not know the opportunity when it comes. You just have to say yes to the things that are in front of you and see what you can actually do and not think about all the things that you can't do. Yeah.
Absolutely. And do you feel the ability to go out and get it and to do it irrespective if it's there or not epitomizes your kind of personality in terms of why you applied for the contest and what you're going to be able to do after it and during it?
Uh, yes. So I do like this quote by Thomas Edison, and it's on my laptop, so I see it every day. And it goes like this: our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way is to try it just one more time. So when I see that, I just think, when I feel like giving up, I just push myself a little bit more. I tell myself one more time. And I think that if you break it down in steps, it's going to help you rather than seeing such a big picture that is unattainable. If you break things down into smaller steps, eventually you'll get to places that you never dreamed of. Like I never thought I'd be doing anything like this, but it was just one step at a time, saying yes to the phone call, showing up to the different photo shoots, doing all this social media posts, connecting with the different girls. It was little by little, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're in a completely different place. So
And being in that completely different place, and in light of what Thomas Edison said with the quote, did you ever want to give up? Did you ever have that moment where you're like, do you know what? This quote doesn't relate to me anymore. I'm just going to give up this time.
yeah, frequently. There's times when I think I just can't do this. I really can't do this, but I just struggle with it because I think it's okay to struggle, but what's not okay is to stop. Like you can pause, but you can't stop. You have to keep going. And I think that's the part that really builds you up as a person. Like
Yeah,
even before, I didn't really used to exercise that much. Although I did like it, I never forced myself to do it every day. But these days, I force myself to do it at least 5 times a week. And it's always difficult, but um, I like the after effects. Like it produces endorphins, and it makes me feel happier, and I feel
yeah.
a little bit accomplished for the day. So um, I just push through. You just got to push through, even when you don't feel like it.
I suppose it's the small wins that amount to the bigger wins and help to develop us and mold us as a person, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, in terms of representation, regularly we see representation as like the key word in all the new conversations happening in the corporate world, the personal world, in a lot of worlds and a lot of spaces. What do you think of representation, and how do you think it matters to you personally and to those around you?
Representation is important because I think it will change the way society views each other. Once you know a little bit more about a community, once you see that community often, it's harder to discriminate against them when they're your
Mm,
friends now, when they're your family members. It's it's a different type of thinking. And if we can have um, more people of color, more people who are diverse, more people who don't look like um, the typical norm, whatever that is supposed to be. There's no such thing as normal, really. Um, I think that will change society,
yeah.
and that will um, also change the future for our younger ones, um, ones that are coming up. And it's it's really important for young people, especially, to see people that look like them doing good in the world and being good role models, being people that they can look up to and aspire to be like, but in their own way, put their own twist on it. Uh, yeah.
I could. And did you ever feel like there was a moment in your life where you weren't represented on, perhaps in the media, wherever it may be, and you felt, I suppose, demotivated? Because I know for some people, when I grew up, I remember I aspired to be like Trevor McDonald. So, we spoke about Trinidad, and Trevor McDonald was the first black anchorman on a major news station at 10 o'clock. And I remember my mum being the proud Trinidadian she was like, he's from Trinidad, Sean. She made me study him and so much more. And I grew up and I wanted to be like him. And outside of that, I didn't really think of anybody else except in school when they told me about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, the great peacemakers. I didn't really think of anybody else outside of that. So was there anyone when you were younger that you looked up to? Did you have a role model? It doesn't even have to be a celebrity. It can be anyone. Was there someone you looked up to that reminded you that your dreams aren't just dreams, they can turn into reality?
Oh, that's a great question. Any role models? Well, closer to home, um, I did see a lot of success um, when I was growing up. So like all my relatives that Nigerians, they're very into education. and
Oh,
things like
yep.
that. So I guess the closest ones would be like my parents, my aunts, and my uncles. So I thought success was normal. I thought like uh, so I think that had the most impact on my life. Like it was expected for you to do well in
Yeah.
school. It was expected for you to go on to university and get good jobs and good positions. And because like my parents did and my aunts and uncles did and my grandparents did, I thought that that's just the way life was. In terms of wider role models, like those who are anchormen or musicians, I can't remember right now. I'm sure there are lots of people that I did love. Um, well, yeah, but I can't remember them right now.
No, I can imagine there's so many people
Just,
out there that I think are
yeah,
doing absolutely inspirational and absolutely amazing things.
yeah, yeah. I guess if yes, for musicians, probably I did love Destiny's Child. Like, I like the fact that it was a all black girl group and they're different skin tones as well. I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
But then some people argue Kelly was better than Beyonce, but Beyonce got more. So it's always that argument I hear regularly from people.
Yeah, but yeah, it's also the light skin, dark skin I, argument as well, which
Yeah.
I don't think is very useful for anybody really. It doesn't help any of us, because we're both beautiful, light skin and dark skin, and we shouldn't be fighting each other on an issue like this because uh, you, like you can't help the skin that you're born with, and um, it has its own beauty. I think it should be appreciated and not
Hmm.
a, a place to argue, not something to argue about.
Then how do you feel like we can better those relations as opposed to arguing?
Oh, I think that talking about issues like this is a good place to start. Like
Yeah.
getting it all out in the open and understanding the history behind why people think like this. Because it, th- this kind of thinking, it wasn't always like that, but it was put in place, well, a while back now, like around the time of slavery. Um, but um, since, but yeah, we need to talk about it uh, a lot more than we do. And we need to recognize that um, what what the systems they put in place, they weren't necessarily right. They were just what suited them. So that's why it was there. Uh, and we don't need to subscribe to that anymore. We can appreciate each other for who we are without fighting.
Absolutely. And then that leads me on to talk about. So when we first spoke, I didn't realize that we were talking so much about the country that I'm from, Trinidad, and Tobago, you know, the land of the soca and the carnival. That's all we're known for, but there's so much more. I want to talk to you about the work that you're doing with the Museum of Wales, talking about a reframing history project. I want you to explain that and to go into that because I think that's an absolutely fantastic project. And again, proves the point that just because you're pretty or you're beautiful doesn't mean that you don't have a brain that goes with it. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Ah, well, I have the opportunity to work with the Museum of Wales on reframing Picton. So there was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Picton who was the governor of Trinidad a really long time ago. Uh, I think was it 1800s, something like that.
Yeah,
And he uh, he was celebrated because he won the Battle of Waterloo. So they decided to create this statue of him and this
yeah,
7 foot portrait of him, which they hung in the Museum of Wales. And underneath it, they would always say, "Oh, it's a controversial topic. He's a controversial figure," but they never say why. Thanks to Black Lives Matter, the museum has decided to change its ways and they want to expand on the actual story of Picton and say why he's a controversial figure, because the people of Wales have been sort of petitioning against him, or some of them have, for a while, but nothing's happened until now. So he was controversial because even though he was the governor of Trinidad, he didn't treat his subjects very well. He did things like decapitate them and
Oh,
burnt them alive because they're black. And also there was this particularly horrible thing that he did to a 12-year-old girl who was accused of stealing, like it was his best friend's mistress, but she was only 12, which was quite bad. And he had her tortured for a few hours, and he had them stick a wooden spike in her foot and he had her hang from her hand, from the ceiling, and he tortured her for 8 months and did a bunch of other things that are quite horrible to her. So we're trying to tell this story in the Museum of Wales, expand on that story, and we're going to use that as a gateway to tell happier stories and celebrate Black people and other ethnic groups as well, and their contribution to British history as well. Because a lot of the times when you think about Britain, you don't think about Black people and you don't think about the contributions that they have made to this nation, but they've made so many contributions, including like World War II, World War One. We had Caribbean and African and Indian soldiers fight in these wars, and we even had Chinese soldiers fighting on behalf of the British. But these characters, they don't get celebrated as much as white soldiers do. So I think I was really happy to be involved in this project because it's something that's quite close to my heart. It's something that I think would benefit younger people as well, because it makes a difference when you can see yourself as a part of the UK. You can think about World War II and not just think, oh, it's just a bunch of white people fighting
yeah.
over there. It's actually my ancestors who fought. It's a world war. It does make sense. So yeah, it's different. It makes a difference.
Because I remember for the BBC, I did a recreation with one of my friends about Robbie Clark, who was like the first ever black / mixed race air pilot in World War II. And I never knew that. When I thought of the World War, I didn't think anything of black people. I didn't really think of anything. I just thought of a bunch of young men and some young women that died in the war. That was it, pretty much.
Yeah, same here. And that used to make me sad actually. And I used to think, oh, why don't they ever teach me a history that I care about? I don't care about this. But yeah, because I didn't see why I should. I thought was just my friends' ancestors that were fighting in the war.
Yeah,
Then I asked my dad one day, um, did we ever fight in any wars? And he actually told me that some of his uncles fought in World War II, in
yeah.
Northern Africa. Yeah. So I was like, oh wow, I didn't know it was actually close to me. I didn't know I had anything to do with this.
So through what you're doing, you're able to make history, I suppose, in a crude sense, more relatable and for people to understand that you said the individual you spoke about, he was seen as a hero because he defeated Napoleon, which made himself more complex. Because whenever we think about, for example, individuals like Churchill, who helped to stop the Germans invading, he was good, but then he was racist. He stopped the feeding of so many people. He did so much. So there's all these nuances to all these heroes, but we're not given the true nuanced truth about who they are. So what you're doing, you're reframing history in a way that's tangible for people like me and you, and even for white people, whoever else, to understand history. Why? I know it's important to you, and I know you said it was important to you because when you were growing up, you didn't really see it. But why do you think it's become such a prominent issue? Is that because of Black Lives Matter, or do you think there's always been this calling for people to want history to relate to them?
I think it's a bit of both. I think for a long time, people have been calling for things like this to for them to explain history a little bit better, um, for because it gives you a sense of identity, and that's what people really need, because it gives them a sense of direction in life, and it can help them go on do great things if they know who they are. I also think that Black Lives Matter has helped as a catalyst. It's made this process a lot faster, and the whole lockdown helped to move that on forward because everyone's on their phones all the time. Everyone's going to be
Yeah.
in media all the time, so they will be looking at the news. They'll be seeing these different things, and they'll be more inspired and encouraged to do something rather than back when we were allowed outside, people were kind of doing their own business. But yeah.
Okay. And do you feel that the world is moving into a better place in terms of the way we deal with history and the way we deal with race issues in particular?
I I am optimistic. I I do feel that when I'm speaking to people on a normal basis, I do feel that race relations have gotten better. I think there's still some way to go. I think there's a lot of hurt feelings um, that are still underneath the surface. It can be kind of superficial, but I do think that things are getting better, and I'm quite optimistic for the future. I do think that we have to keep talking about it and not just forget about it, because that's what we've been doing for a long time. We'd see something that was bad and that was an injustice, and we'd get upset for a while, but then we'd go back to normal, go back to doing the same thing again and again. And we need to stop doing that. We need to uh, make changes to so that we can actually move forward this time.
And I would love to know, right? We've spoken about a lot about the history and the work that you're doing. How far along has that come? How close are you towards the objective of how you're going to reframe history with that particular project?
Well, museum work takes actually a long time. I didn't realize how long it actually takes. So our original deadline was supposed to be, we wanted it done by November, but it's
Mm.
November and we've realized that it's going to take a bit longer. So we're aiming for April, March to have our displays up and the museum ready for people to enter in. I suppose it's good that it's all right that we're not ready because we can't really let people in anyway right now. So it gives us more time to plan and more time to get the artists in and the writers in and more time to do this thing properly and nicely.
And I'd love to know if you win, if you go on to win the All African Colours contest, what would you do with your newfound title and your newfound fame?
So winning this title would be a collective effort. I've said that from the beginning, well, in my mind and in my heart, that I didn't want to just win for the sake of it. I wanted to win um, for all of us because when anyone does anything great, it takes a village to do great things. Like the proverb says, it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to do something great. So I would love the chance to represent Miss All African Colors to a national stage, to in Miss England, and
Mm.
also whilst I'm doing that, I still want to promote EquipAfrica and get more involved with raising funds and raising awareness. I also want to support the local communities around, and I think there's a few projects that the Miss All African Colors organization has in line. So I
Mm.
would love to get involved with some of that. I think they're having um, a, it's a talent show called Hearts of Talent. Yeah, I believe it's Hearts of Talent. It used to be called Brent Factor, and
Yeah.
it was their focus is about um, improving people's talents, and so it's getting young Black and ethnic minority youths from the ages of, I think it's about 11 to 30, to come together to come and develop themselves as artists or whatever their talent happens to be. So it would be great if I could get involved in that as well. But one of my dreams is um, to not just wear the crown for me, but give other women the chance to wear the crown. Because uh, even just wearing my finalist crown and giving it to other young girls and young women to wear, I could see the way it made their face light up. So I would love to do a project like saying I am Miss All African Colors, or we are Miss All African Colors, and just something where they can get glammed up, they can take pictures with that crown. Even though there's only one winner, it's a collective, it's a representative of us all. So
Absolutely.
that's one of my dreams.
That is lovely. That's beautiful. It's all about, if you achieve success, bringing the escalator back down for others to be able to climb up. You know,
Yeah,
we come up together, and if what is it? If we fall as a team, and if we get up as a unit. That's that
yeah.
kind of mentality. And I ask everybody this question: if you had a magic wand, what would you change about the world we live in, and how would you change it?
Ooh, if I had a magic wand, what would I change about the world that we live in, and how would I change it?
Hmm.
Ooh,
It can be anything, absolutely anything.
anything. Hmm. I think one of the first things I would do would be to at least let everybody start on the same level financially, because there's so much there's so many inequalities in the world when it comes to finances. I wouldn't want anybody to start living below the breadline. I know that um, you get some success stories where they struggled and they made it to the top, but not everybody gets the chance to do that, especially if you're very young and you don't have anyone. So I would make make that my wish. So everybody can start on the same level financially, and also everyone would have the support they need so that they can go and do something that they want to do, or do something that they've dreamed of doing with their lives. So like everybody have the right kind of support, because it's
Oh,
important.
no, I absolutely agree with that. I think equality of opportunity is so important. And I think exposing people to those opportunities is what's going to allow them to be the people that they want to be, and how best can we support them. I want to say a huge thank you for you joining me on my podcast. Also, I want you to tell all of us, where can we support you? How can we support you? And also, I'm going to make sure you send your links to my podcast so I can put it in the bio with our conversations so people know where to support you and how to vote for you, most importantly.
Oh, okay. uh, well, thank you for having me here. You can support me through voting. So you can vote if you text 6333 to, yeah, that's the number you text. And what the message you text is Miss in capital letters AAC01, and that's my number. And my Instagram is HA_Adelapo. So you can find me there.
Most definitely. And what would be your final words for everyone that's watching and that will go on to perhaps use this as a template to apply for All African Colours contest?
Don't be afraid of doing something different. It might shock you and lead you into a place that you never thought you'd ever be. So yeah, come and join in. It's a different type of world. It's nothing like you think you've seen on TV. It's different when you're in it. So it's a very good heat so far. It's been really good. I have no complaints.
Thank you so much. It's been a great to have a conversation, and especially even with the work talking about Trinidad, I learned something new today. So I'm looking forward to us chatting and us being able to write a little article on it perhaps as well to spread
Yes.
the great work that you're doing. I'm definitely looking forward to that. So what I'll do for now is I'll put this up, I'll say, tell everyone to come and check out your stuff because I think they're going to enjoy it. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me for a Flower Hour episode.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun. I hope you
Absolutely.
got good content. I hope it was interesting.
No, most definitely. I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean.
Bye.
Bye.